What is up, Diozy fans? Diozy here. And yes, I'm back, but that's not what's important. So today I'll be doing a sort of review video. If you're wondering, the current video that I'm recording that is on your screen, this is technically was actually did have its own voiceover. There was like a couple of problems, so you might not be able to see the complete drawing, but if you want to see the complete drawing, it is the thumbnail of this video. And if you're wondering, a lot of my new videos will be adapting to this new format because it's a much simpler and still entertaining way of doing videos where I can both get two things done while still making some quality content. Okay, so now that I've gotten everything through, let me quickly give you a small roundup. I've never properly read the first two Wings of Fire books. I feel like those books, I have gone through so many formats. Like, for the first book, I just read the first 26 pages. I remember I would always stop at 26. Because the moment Morosia comes, like, I was like, wow, Morosia, she's like the writer of the prophecy. And then we, like, get to this whole, when Clay escapes scene, I always never really like after the moments of Clay escaping because those parts would confuse me, so I would end up watching the Willowheart movie, fall in love with the series, and continue watching. My pen just fell. Okay. Anyway, continuing on. Book 2's problem was that I was morally confused in most areas. I feel like I don't remember reading any of the Ripnami scenes, especially the Ripnami cave scene. I don't remember any of that. I do sort of remember Auckland scene, but after the Ripnami scene, I sort of got confused a lot. While I still did understand the final story, I do feel like these two books have been like really misjudged. Like, I am like, wow. So if you're wondering, the drawing video will be like speeded up just so that like it's there, because I realized that I'm not gonna be talking for as long. Okay, so book 3 through 5, those books I completely remember reading every single bit. Book 5 was probably one of the greater books that I always misjudge. So yeah. Now this does not mean that I still hold my issues saying they're false. No, what I'm saying is while I did misjudge the first two books, that does not mean the problems I have stated are not problems. Part 2 of book 2 is a bit long, and while we have a lot more Dragonite than I always remembered it did, it's still it's still not as, okay, I feel like I'm morally confused on book 2 even at this singular moment. Book 2, I want to say there's a problem, but I don't find as big of a problem. I feel like the story itself is really good. There are just most key areas where it could have been better, like a lot better. It's like most stories. It's a good story, but it could have been better. I'm not sure how, but I know that it could have been better. Like, there are some spots where I just feel like, Whirlpool is honestly a great written character. If you're wondering, you'll be like, what do you mean? If your character is specifically written to be not liked and you could furiously hate him, that's a good writing. Like, if a character dies and you're supposed to cheer for him and go, yeah, that's a good writing. So I do actually really respect Tweedy's writing on Whirlpool because it's a really amazing way of writing. So yeah. I feel like book 1 is another one. If you're wondering, I'm morely trying to also do like a discussion sort of thing. If you will have your own thoughts, please put them down in the comments below. I feel like overall, as a series, the Dragon Prophecy is probably the best. Like, if you just count story, story-wise, the Dragon Prophecy easily is the best prophecy. Character-wise, I feel like the characters, especially the primary characters, are equal of the Jade Mountain prophecy. A lot of the side characters too are a lot equal. So if you take everything into consideration with my new everything, I 100% believe that the Dragon Prophecy is definitely the best out of the trilogy. If you're wondering, I always felt like the 15th book up to 11 through 15 had a lot of writing issues, especially Jade Mountain as well. I feel like a big problem with post Dragon Prophecy writing is that they try to do too much things in a too little book. Like, just in the span of the Jade Mountain Prophecy, you have a complete tonal shifts that are not good. Like, for the first two books, you are doing this whole story arc about Darkstalker and Foeslayer, and then you get a complete tonal shift to Peril. Peril, that's not a bad tonal shift, it's just weird. Like, at the point, you would expect that book 8 would probably be, I don't know, a Ghibli book, but no, that's a Peril book. And while the tonal shift is also continuing, I feel like there's another problem, and that's not the only tonal shift problem. We had Darkstalker as not just the primary antagonist, but the primary mission. It was the focus. It was a big focus, if you're wondering. Other than Scarlet and all of that, because Scarlet was a side character mainly. We knew Darkstalker was the big bad. So completely forgetting who Darkstalker is not a good idea to immediately reawaken him. And another problem is Book 9 and Book 10 taking place in the same area made so that Book 10 felt a little bit bloated, especially with the Vulture arc. Like, there's a whole problem with the Jade Mountain Prophecy that I want to discuss in the future. I have discussed it, but that's not a good one. So yeah, I feel like the problem with books 11 through 15, now that I know and realize it, is that the story could have been a lot better for what it is. And especially, I feel like the ending could have been a lot longer. For 330 pages, which is the version I have, it is pretty big actually. It is, out of the main series, it's the second largest book, and overall it's the fourth largest Wings of Fire book, so it's a pretty big book. But I feel like that's not enough, and especially with all the convoluted plot holes, and this feels like a big ending to Wings of Fire books, and the whole arc, every tribe unites. So I feel like they didn't do that ending properly. There's a lot of doing nothing. Now that I'm just done complaining about those two arcs, let me talk about the good about the Dragonet Prophecy. I feel like the reason this fits so well is that every book is perfectly continued with each other. A big part about the Dragonets is that they don't want to leave each other behind, which allows so that characters don't just split up and you have to focus on separate points of story. This was an especial problem in book 9 and 10. Whereas here, every character stays together, so there's no extra story bloating the whole books. I feel like everything felt consistent. From the point of the Dragonet Prophecy, immediately near the end, you continue on almost under a day later, and then you continue again only a couple of hours later, and after that, it's a continuing story where everything feels much better connected. Compare that to book 9 to book 10 shift. Like book 4 to book 5 shift, that was a really good shift because immediately book 5 begins at the end of book 4. Compare that to book 9 to book 10. Book 10 begins at the ending of the part 1 of book 9. That's a bit confusing. And then you continue onward and all that stuff. I feel like this is where I really find the Dragonet Prophecy to be the best one, so yeah. Overall, I do believe that I underhanded this, so finally I want to give like a tier rating. I feel like previously I would have put in Dragonet Prophecy probably at mid-D tier, but now I would definitely put it at either mid to high B tier or low A tier. It's not like mind-blowingly good, but it's a really good book. I do still stand with my ratings for The Dark Secret is probably gonna go just slightly bit higher, probably from D tier to probably high C tier, whereas definitely book 5 and 3 will stay at the same spot, and book 2 will definitely go to mid to low A tier. Or maybe high B tier if that's the case. Okay guys, but that's the end of this video. Tell me how you liked this video. Tell me if I should continue this format or if I should go back to my old one. You're the fans who decide everything, but yeah. But guys, that's the end of this video. Hope the video, sub to the channel would be amazing. But that's Diozy going out.